Poisonrana.
First time in a long time, but back like I never left. Taking these things as it comes, you know me, I don't read ahead. Watch me burn down everything, BDE on the TV set. When I'm in control on the road, you can never really know what's up next.
Hello. Davie Portman here from upNXT postwrestling.com, and we are live on youtube.com/postwrestling. Yes, it's your boys from Poisonrana right here again for another Tuesday night reviewing the weekly NXT show, because we are your NXT friends. There we go.
Did I do that right?
You did, yes. Yeah, we had to do it the other way around this week because Braden isn't here. He's celebrating a bit of an anniversary with his lady friend. So I brought in I was going to say my lady friend. That's weird. But I brought in my friend this week, Mr. John Siino Evil from Shot in the Dark and What Up Though, to talk all about this week's episode of NXT. Hello, John. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I hope Braden and his lady friend are enjoying their anniversary. I know they went to go see Cocaine Bear, so there's no better way to celebrate your anniversary than watching a cocaine-fueled bear. Yeah. Do you have any intention of seeing this? I feel like this movie is being spread across the post world. I saw it, Pollock saw it, Braden saw it.
Honestly, I'd love to. I am so behind on everything at the moment. I was intending to see Avatar. Well, that was out. I wanted to see that in IMAX and everything. Didn't see that. Didn't see Black Panther. Haven't seen Quantum Mania yet. I'm all out of it at the moment with the cinema, as much as I'd love to go. But yeah, I might catch it one day on demand or something. But I would like to see it. I am intrigued.
The turnaround for these movies is so quick. Like, I'll watch a movie, then like 2 weeks later, like it's already on demand or it's already on HBO Max or Disney Plus, whatever the streaming service is. So it's like, definitely, if you miss it in the theaters, you'll have a really quick chance to watch it at home.
The problem is with me is if I don't see it in the theaters, I probably won't watch it at home, and that's just the reality, because it just becomes another film in the list of hundreds of films that I've never seen in my life. And I got wrestling to watch. I got other stuff to watch. But it does look fun. I did enjoy hearing John and Way talk about it on, was it Rewind of Raw this week?
Yep.
Talking about both Quantum Mania and Cocaine Bear. Now I'm interested in, what is it, the Meth Gator or something like that?
Yeah, but that's one of those, like, what they call silent films, where they take popular films and make them really crappy. So the CG is not like anything as good. Like, not saying Cocaine Bear is like this award-winning movie, but the CGI is bad, the acting's bad for all these like a silent film. So don't expect it. I'm looking forward to a Cocaine Bear sequel, because now that they found the cocaine shark out there, I think that's the perfect way to continue this cocaine.
Sorry, there's a legit cocaine shark, or that's like the end of this Cocaine Bear film?
No. I think this, because the Cocaine Bear is based on true events, and I'm pretty sure I read a story about some cocaine shark out there, so they could easily just take that and make it into a sequel.
What else are we gonna get now? Like heroin heron? Like, what else is there?
Yeah, I guess you could have crack rats.
Yeah,
that's pretty sure there's a couple crack rats running around the New York subway system, so they could easily do that, make that into a movie.
Well, yeah, we've got a lot to get through tonight. We've got quite a bit of housekeeping to start with, but first of all, this was an absolute nightmare for me watching this tonight. I got home a little later than intended, and a little bit behind the scenes. I mean, if you've been listening to us for a while, you know that Braden and I, every Tuesday, we have a bit of a date night. We take it in turns to cook for each other. One of us will cook, the other person will kind of lead the show. But I got home later and it's all just myself doing it tonight. So I'm trying to frantically cook in time, or at least have most of it ready before NXT. So I'm not kind of cooking whilst I'm watching. And I also had a brand new webcam arrive today. So I'm trying to set that up as well, and then realize that I need a certain screw to like hook it up. So I'm trying to like unscrew my old webcam to put it on. And then I realized that because it's newer, it uses USB-C instead of the USB, 2.0, whatever it's called, USB-B, I guess. And I've lost my adapter when I was in Cuba, which kind of allows me to plug in multiple USBs and different USB types. So, like, why can't we just have one fitting? Like, why is it, like, fucking Apple? Like, I've got a MacBook and I've got an iPhone, but the charger for my MacBook would work on my old Android phone, but doesn't work on my iPhone. And then if I want to plug in a brand new webcam, it doesn't fit it. Like it's crazy. Like it's really like there's a repair shop near mine that says if Apple made jeans, they'd make an eye belt that like only will keep those jeans up if you wear this certain kind of belt. It gets very frustrating. So I'm dealing with that, and I haven't sorted.
No, I understand your pain with Apple, man. Like, I recently got my son an iPad, and like, you know, he wanted to charge his iPad recently, and he couldn't find his charger. I'm like, oh, here, just use my charger. Just found out it's a totally different charger than my phone. I'm like, why would they change it up?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, hey, you want to use my headphones? There's no headphone jack. I'm like, when did they eliminate a headphone jack on the iPad?
That's the other
like,
thing.
All these little, if I would have known, I would have just got an older model. If I knew the new ones were taking away all these like luxuries that we have.
Exactly. I'm someone that, like, if I'm going on a walk or going to the gym or whatever, I need to have like music on, a podcast on, or something. Like I'll go like with the best intentions to do a bit of a workout, and then I'll be on the treadmill or whatever, and my music cuts out. I'm like, well, I guess this workout's done. And that's you're relying on these Bluetooth ones now, and there's no way to like just I'd go on a walk and just pop into, I've lost my headphones, I'll pop into Dollarama and buy a shitty pair just to listen to something. You can't even do that anymore. Anyway,
I'm so close to going back to wired headphones. Like, my AirPods are like acting up lately, so like I'll go to charge them overnight, and then I go to take a walk, put them both in, and come to find out the right one for whatever reason didn't charge at all. So now I'm walking around with one headphone. It's really annoying, and it's just like, I'm just gonna go back to wired headphones. I think the sound quality is probably better anyway, honestly, on the wired ones.
I realize I sound so old now. Like, Braden and I are very much like that. We're like, hey, we've got 20 minutes before NXT. Do you want to play a quick game of 2K? And then it's like, got to install this. Your controllers aren't charged. All this shit. So I'm trying to sort that out, and then I'm frantically trying to cook, and then I like open a can, and I cut my hand open on the can.
Oh,
so I'm now bleeding, and it's one of those thin cuts where you're just bleeding everywhere. So I wrap it up and I put a Band-Aid on it, and then I realize like blood is still coming out, and I cut myself in 2 places on my hand, and then my NXT stream is cutting in and out. I've got blood all over my laptop as I'm trying to, note down what the fuck Joe Gacy said this week, and I'm just like, man, like, Braden, can you come home, please? So, but I got through it. I think there's 2 of us here. I think between us, we've got this show covered tonight. But yeah, we are on the road to Roadblock on NXT. And yeah, like, maybe before we get into it, how have you been with NXT? I know you did the show with Braden a couple of weeks ago while I was in Cuba. But yeah, we're kind of, like 6 months removed from the end of 2.0, I would say now at this point. Mm-hmm. Like, we're a few months removed from that. Where are you now? Like, a lot of these characters that were like brand new to us and was a bit jarring like 18 months ago have kind of settled in a bit now. What have your thoughts been on this road to like Roadblock and Stand and Deliver?
I've actually been enjoying it. I try to catch NXT live when I can, but whenever I do watch it, I definitely enjoy it. I was actually having a conversation with my friend earlier who was saying, like, it's like, and what he's echoing is what pretty much a lot of people, I'm pretty sure people that voted for the Wrestling Observer newsletter, like, they had this stink of NXT 2.0 that you're not willing to let go and move on to this new phase of NXT. So, like, one of his gripes was like, oh, they don't have any anybody that's ready to get called up in the main roster. And I gave him like 10 to 15 examples of people that are ready, from like Carmelo Hayes to the Creed brothers to Tiffany Stratton. And he was like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. I didn't really think about it that way. So I feel like that's like a general consensus, is like people are just so stuck in the old ways of 2.0. They're not giving this new chance basically of what they're trying to do now. But I've been enjoying it, honestly. It's not what it used to be. I don't think it's ever going to be what it used to be, but it's definitely better than what we had. And it's probably one of my favorite shows I've been watching, like probably top 5, up there with Dynamite. I definitely enjoy it better than Raw. Sometimes it's better than SmackDown. SmackDown's been great, obviously. But compared to all the other shows I cover and watch, I think NXT is definitely up there.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think it's been, it's not the super indies that it once was, but I think it's been a pretty consistent show and logical show, like in the last few months. And it's cool. Like, what I love about it is it's cool when you really see a lot of these kind of people that were super green, like starting to really come into their own and thrive, and you can see that there being a spot for them on the main roster, and that's how it used to be. You know, you couldn't wait until you saw like a Bailey move up or whatever, and I feel we're getting to that point.
Yeah, and I like how they're still bringing in people. Obviously, we still haven't seen Dragon Lee. The former Carl Fredericks, now going by Eddie Thorpe, has been wrestling on Level Up, so I'm sure we'll be seeing him soon. So like that whole, like, I think somebody mentioned it, like no indie talent in NXT. Like that's obviously not the case, because they're still bringing in people that are from the indies or have worked in even in AEW or whatnot. So they're definitely mixing it like they used to be with the NIL stars, as well as the people that already have wrestling experience. So as long as they keep that going, there really isn't too much negativity about NXT.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Well, let's go through a bit of kind of housekeeping to start with. If you are watching the live stream right now on youtube.com/postwrestling, you might have seen a bit of a graphic right at the start of this show. We announced it on this Sunday's edition of Poisonrana. If you don't subscribe to the Poisonrana feed yet, please do. Just search for Poisonrana in your podcast app, and up will pop a neon frog. And it's the old upNXT feed, which has now been taken over, where we do a weekly show every Sunday talking about the week's news in wrestling. That's, if you were a fan of our old BD Elite show, that's where a lot of our AEW show thoughts have been moved to. But we did announce on this Sunday that we are going to be hosting a 2-night watch party at Gabby's, King Street West. That's 309 King Street West, on the Saturday and Sunday of WrestleMania weekend, starting from 6 p.m. Until the show finishes, and maybe a little bit of an after party after. Tickets are on sale. Just go on Poisonrana.ca, and you'll see the link right at the top for our Eventbrite page, where you can get tickets. And we're doing a bunch of things. We've already got some super awesome prizes that we're going to be giving out throughout the night. Through raffles and trivia contests and that kind of thing. We're going to have the show played on over 10 screens. The whole bar we're taking over. Sound will be blaring. We're going to be playing wrestling music before the show. I'm going to be curating some wrestling-themed cocktails, which have always been a hit at previous events we've done. And yeah, you can get a ticket. It's going to be $10 per night, but there are a limited amount of combo tickets. So if you are in the Toronto area and want to come to both nights, it's just $15, and plus any of the fees that Eventbrite charges. So $15 for the 2 nights. Get them now. There's only a certain capacity we can have at this venue, and it would be awesome to have as many of you there as possible. I'll be there. Braden will be there, and there'll perhaps be some other members of the Post Wrestling and Poisonrana universe there. So really looking forward to this. It's a really good spot. Like, the setup's really good for watching sports. It's a bit of a sports bar. It is. I might be biased because it is the bar I work at, but that means I've been able to sweet talk them, and they've pretty much given us the run of the whole night. So would love to have as many of you there as possible. I think it's going to be a really fun time. So if you are in the Toronto area, want to watch wrestling with some people, absolutely come down and hang out with us there. So Poisonrana.ca for all your information.
I definitely have a case of FOMO for this. I have visited Gabby's when I did visit you guys in Toronto, but unfortunately, the same week that WrestleMania is happening is the same week that my son's spring break from school is happening. So we did book a trip to go to California, believe it or not. It's like we're literally leaving the day after WrestleMania. So maybe I'll watch Monday Night. Yeah, but maybe we can go to Monday Night Raw. It's like 20 minutes away. The Crypto.com arena is like 20 minutes away from where we're staying. So that might be an option if there's enough hype. But yeah, we're going to Cali the week of WrestleMania. So
I wouldn't have
sorry,
too much FOMO. You're going to be somewhere like very sunny and yeah, you probably are you going to Disney at all while you're there?
No, so we're staying at Universal because we're gonna do the Nintendo World, so we're gonna be experiencing that for the first time, and it's the same week that the Mario movie comes out. So I'm hoping, since we're in Hollywood, maybe we'll get to see some sort of world premiere or something, the Mario movie while we're there. So it should be definitely a fun experience. But I'm looking forward to having myself a Luigi burger or whatever they have at the Toasto Cafe, and then riding around on the Mario Kart.
That I'm very jealous of you, so I wouldn't have too much FOMO, John. I'm sure you'll have equally a good time. But the week before WrestleMania, Braden and I are actually we've been given the opportunity to be involved with the Awesome Toy Show, which is Sunday, March 26th, in Mississauga. And yeah, we've been given this opportunity. We're going to be hanging out at the 1352 Lakeshore Road at the Small Arms Inspection Building, and this is a bit of a convention with lots of kind of pop culture memorabilia, that kind of thing. A load of guests are going to be there, and we're kind of in the wrestling booth. We're going to be hanging out with Chris Van Fleet. I believe Trey Miguel is going to be there from Impact, Aiden Prince, and one of the biggest things of this, and this convention sounds a bit different from your usual conventions because there's going to be like DJs there. It's going to be super interactive. It sounds really fucking cool. And we've been given the opportunity to host a tournament. And you know how we love our kind of games and trivia and all that at Poisonrana. But we've been given the chance to host a 2K23 tournament. The game will have only been out just a few days at this point, and we've got some pretty awesome prizes in line for whoever wins this 2K tournament. So if you are in the area, come along, have yourself a go at one of these games. I'm sure Braden will be saying about how he can beat everyone and will lose in the first round as usual. But yeah, we've got some really sweet prizes to give away. And if you are at this convention, you have the opportunity to actually win tickets to WrestleMania this year, being flown out and put up and going to the big event. And it really feels like this WrestleMania is the biggest one we've had. I know WWE marketing say that every year, but for me as a fan, this genuinely feels like the biggest WrestleMania we've had in quite a while. So a great opportunity if you are in the Mississauga area, the Awesome Toy Show on March 26th. It's going to be a blast. And just even if you just want to come and hang with Braden and I, we will always love meeting friends and fans. So come along to that. Finally, I say finally, I'm probably going to plug for the next 20 minutes here. But it's the end of February and we're moving into March, and we've had some awesome shows over at patreon.com/Poisonrana in the last month. We just released our review of Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. And I'm going to pat myself on the back for this one because I genuinely think it's one of the best shows we've done. I'm in love with these movies. I adore them. I think they're the best pieces of art made for me. And Braden's kind of, he likes the films, not a fan of the genre, and it's been the first time he's watched them for a while. So it was really cool to kind of talk and just go back and forth all about the film. And then Emmanuel, our listener who picked this show, had all his reasons why he picked this film, but also just really hit us in the feels right at the end of that review. So we've been getting a lot of praise for this one. So I really want to kind of blow our own trumpet here because I'm really proud of this review. And if you are a fan of the films, I highly recommend you go and listen to this review on Poisonrana, the Patreon. Are you a Lord of the Rings fan, John?
So I have watched them all. I actually got into Lord of the Rings by playing the PS2 video games because my brother used to play them and I thought they were amazing. And we're like, we should watch these movies. And I think at that point, Return of the King was just about to come out, so we marathoned 1 and 2, and then we went to the theater to see part 3. And then I just kind of got hooked after that. I've been looking for a reason to rewatch them, and I was like, I might as well wait till you guys review it. And then funny enough, at my shoot job, I've been actually building this gigantic Rivendell set. That's amazing. So as I'm building it, I'm just like, oh, I wish I was watching a movie right now, listen to the podcast at the same time. So I'm definitely gonna rewatch the whole series as well. Because I wanted to watch the TV show as well. I know it hasn't gotten that much praise, the Rings of Power, I think it's called. But I definitely want to do a whole rewatch of even like the animated movies. I just want to go back and watch as much as possible. But these are long movies, so I had to find the time to squeeze it in between MLW and NWA at some point.
Yeah, so we had that come out last month. We had our best match ever. Stephanie McMahon is up there. We've got our best match ever, Great Muta, as we were talking all about his retirement. Our usual retro NXT reviews with Was Next, and then moving into March, we've got another retro NXT coming out this week, where we're talking about the 200th episode of NXT, headlined by Bo Dallas versus Adrian Neville for the NXT Championship in a lumberjack match. I can't believe we're at 200 already. And then we're going Up Yours Heavy in March. Up Yours is a show we do where we go to our top paying patrons, our family tier patrons, to pick something for us to review. And we're all over the shop this month. We're going to be talking to Chris Elliot, who is doing double duty this week, as I believe he's going to be with John and Way this week talking about Drive to Survive. And he's also going to be joining us talking about episodes 1 and 2 of Black Mirror, talking about the pig episode. If you don't know what I mean, go and watch this episode before we say any more.
Yes.
And 50 million merits. Super like crazy thriller, sci-fi, dystopian world, and also very close to home, as it's stuff we can see potentially happening. I think Black Mirror is a fantastic show, and there's going to be a lot of conversation to be had about these 2 episodes. And then we're also going to be going WrestleMania heavy this month, because it is WrestleMania month. And we are going to be joined at the end of the month by Jake from the Windy City to talk about WrestleMania 19, because it's the 20th anniversary of this show. Everyone talks about WrestleMania 17, but I feel 19 is a close second to a lot of people of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. We're talking about, what have we got on this show? Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar in the main event. I don't have the match card in front of me. Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho as well.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a hell of a show. Can't wait to talk about
Hulk
that.
Hogan, and you're missing the lead here. Hulk Hogan versus Mr. McMahon.
Oh, well. How could I forget?
That's
yes,
on that
Hulk
show.
Hogan,
Yeah.
Mr. McMahon, and then Siino. You're one of our family patrons. What WrestleMania did you pick?
So WrestleMania 19 is a WrestleMania a lot of people talk about. WrestleMania 11 is a WrestleMania that nobody has ever talked about. And it's one of the few WrestleManias that I've attended that I feel like nobody has ever reviewed, including the Post family and you guys. I have a pretty funny story as well about this WrestleMania. So I've been meaning to tell it for a while, and I've picked nothing but movies and shows. I was like, you know what? Let's pick a wrestling event this time. And it's WrestleMania season. So let's give some love to Salt and Pepper and Nicholas Turturro and Jonathan Taylor Thomas and the rest of the cast from Hartford, Connecticut for WrestleMania 11. It's a terrible show. I don't think I've even seen it in full since attending it, and even when I attended it, I didn't see it in full. So I'll say that for the review. But yeah, definitely gonna have fun with this show. I feel like it's definitely a time in WWE, where WWF at the time, where things were not going too great, when we had a football player and a Bam Bam Bigelow in the main event.
You see, things don't have to be good to have conversation, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about with this one. I don't think I've actually seen this beginning to end. I've certainly seen matches from this show, but I don't think I've seen this one. So it could be a first for me, and it looks god-awful, so I can't wait. And then finally, I kind of want to give the floor to you a bit, because we're 3 months into this Poisonrana changeover in our worlds, and we have got a few like brand new shows on that. We've got a show called The Detox, which we released one just last Friday, where Braden Harrington and Jordan Goodman talk about the world and everything and kind of go on crazy, weird tangents. Last week they were chatting about global warming, littering, how to be a good person, all that stuff. And it's a hell of a listen. But also we've completely given you and B Detroit free reign in a brand new show called What Up Doe. And although we've kind of described on this show what it is, who better than one of the hosts to tell us what is What Up Doe?
Yeah, so What Up Though pretty much embodies like what Poisonrana is about, with pop culture, talking about movies, talking about music. We do discuss wrestling, but I think the majority of it is basically movies. Like me and B Detroit, for example, we saw this movie called Missing. We didn't see it together, but we saw it and we kind of discuss it. We talk about TV shows like The Last of Us, the hip hop, like from the Grammy Awards performance. So pretty much anything that has to do with music or movies or anything pop culture related, funny stories, we'll go ahead and discuss it. By the time we record our next show, The Last of Us will be wrapping up, so I'm sure we'll be discussing that. Mandalorian's coming back tomorrow, so Pedro Pascal's everywhere. The Wu-Tang show from Hulu is in its last season, so I'm sure we'll be discussing that as well. Definitely a fun show, and definitely check out the last show that included one of my best friends I've known for pretty much my entire life, named Mouse, going through some memories, some fun stories about our backyard wrestling days and why they were quickly cut short. But definitely, let's just if you want to listen to two guys just chit-chatting about BS that's not wrestling. Like, I don't really get a platform to talk about things that aren't wrestling, so it's kind of fun to do this.
It's such a good listen. I'm not particularly into hip hop. Like, I'm not saying I hate it. There are songs I like, but I'm really not particularly about the culture or the scene. But I think the chemistry you two have, and your friend you brought on, Mouse, it's such a fun listen to, just hearing you three riff and talk about things that interest you. And there's certainly other stuff on that show that connects with me. Like, I'm fully into The Last of Us at this point, so I'm loving those conversations, and also just keeping me kind of educated and aware what's going on things that I might not be caught up with. So I highly recommend that show, and all you got to do is follow Poison Rana, subscribe wherever you can. It's absolutely free, and you get What Up Doe for free once a month.
So it's funny you say you're not into hip hop. I actually mentioned this to Wei Tang the other day. The Wu-Tang and Nas are going on a world tour. They're going everywhere: Australia, the UK, North America. Obviously, the day after my birthday, they're going to be performing in Toronto on a Sunday. And I actually told Wei about it. He's really interested about it. The tickets go on sale tomorrow, so he actually might be getting tickets. If you get tickets and Braden's down, I'll head up there to Toronto, and we'll fully initiate you into the Wu-Tang clan. You'll have a Wu-Tang tattoo at the end of it.
You see, I was meant to see Wu-Tang a few years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had tickets to it's at, what's the City Field? That's the one in Queens, right?
Oh yes, that show with what is Sum 41?
Welcome to Lincoln Park,
yeah.
Which was meant to
yes.
be Blink 182 and Lincoln Park, and supporting them was Wu-Tang and MGK, and Chester took his life the week before, so the concert obviously got called off, but yeah, so I never saw them. So, if a crew is going, if a group's going, I'll absolutely go along. But
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Well, I think that's enough plugs for 1 week. So maybe let's head over to Wei Ting to tell us all about HelloFresh before we go into this week's episode of NXT. NXT, February 28th, 2023, live from the Capitol Wrestling Center. And this week we're opening hot with a brawl backstage, and we see. So the first two faces I saw in this brawl were just Odyssey Jones and Zion Quinn, and I'm like, that's a really interesting way to start this show. And then it pans out, and you realize it's essentially the whole locker room of fighting backstage for this open challenge. Now, am I wrong? But did I say they should do this last week? I said, whenever you have these open challenges, we should see everyone at Gorilla fighting to try and get to the ring. And that's
they must have heard you. That's I've always wanted the same thing. It's like, why don't we see these guys actually like trying to race to the entrance to Gorilla position to get out there? We actually saw it for once. It was like, I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I thought this was a great open. So they're all brawling, and then a few of them spill out to kind of the entranceway, and Dabba Kato is walking down to the ring, and you go, oh man, are they having Dabba Kato just destroy Wesley here? So him and Apollo's feud is over this title. And then Apollo comes out of nowhere, attacks Dabba Kato, taking him out, allowing a returning Nathan Frazier, who we haven't seen since, I think they said Halloween Havoc. Am I right?
Yeah, that was his last match. Yeah, that was his last match on TV. He's done a couple house shows since, but his last match on TV was Halloween Havoc. Yep.
So he leaps over Dabba-Kato and Apollo Crews, makes it to the ring. There's welcome back chants, and as RYN in the YouTube room points out, he comes back sporting a beard. He's grown up a little bit, our Nathan. And we're opening with Wesley versus Nathan Frazier, which, yeah, take my money. This sounds great. And I thought a really hot way to start this show with this brawl and then leading to two fantastic wrestlers going at it. We start with just a bit of a one-upmanship, both running the ropes, both showing off their speed. You have a bit of a stalemate between the two and a sign of respect as they're shaking each other's hands. And Booker doesn't like that. You know, he doesn't like open challenges, does Book, and he doesn't like shaking hands in a match. We then get a standing moonsault to the floor from Frazier, but he lands on his feet as Wes moves out the way. And then Wes rolls back into the ring and tries to hit a con hilo, but this time Frazier moves, so Wes lands on his feet. Just really impressive. And then catches Frazier with the Enziguri as we go to commercial break. After the break, Frazier goes for the Phoenix Splash, like his mentor Seth Rollins, but Wes moves again, so this allows Frazier to roll through. They both run the ropes and both go for cross bodies and collide in the middle of the ring at the same time. Now they're both brawling on the top of the turnbuckle. Frazier gets shoved off, but he runs back up, leaps to the top, a la Kurt Angle, and hits the Seth Rollins superplex off the top. And then, whereas Seth would go then into like reverse Bloody Sunday, Frazier hits like a final cut, like the twisting suplex neck breaker thing. Thought looked really sweet. Frazier then goes for a dive to the outside, but Wes moves out of the way. Wes then catches him and then hits his backflip Pele kick, the top of the head, putting Frazier away and retaining the North American Championship. And after the match, they both shake hands. They both show respect to each other, but really hot opener. Would love to see these two run it back at some point. It was exactly what you expect. Just non-stop action. The speed and precision of both guys is so impressive. And I thought a great way to kick off this week's NXT.
Yeah, this match was fantastic. When everybody was brawling in the back, I was like trying to pick out who I would like to see fight Wesley. I saw at one point Malik Blade and Idris Enofe were like doing rock, paper, scissors. I'm like, okay, whichever one of these two, it'll be a great match. But as soon as I saw Nathan Frazier, I saw him in the background. I'm like, is that Frazier? Like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And this crowd totally ate it up. They welcome back chants. This Florida crowd, like, they have to give it up to them. They're definitely like energized every week, I feel like, with these NXT stars. And I feel like they're the same people that attend like the AEW Dark tapings at Universal, as well as the Ring of Honor tapings, which just happened. So good for them for, like, you know, keeping up the energy all week, I guess, if it's the same people. This match was like amazing. Like those crazy bumps on the outside of the commentary table when they kept bumping into it, and then the leaf flip over the turnbuckle. But one thing I need to mention, I'm sure you guys, half your notes are probably Booker T sayings. So during this match, he started going on to like a shark kick for some reason. Maybe he found out about this meth infested shark movie that's coming out, but he was like trying to compare Wesley to a shark, and then like Vic was kept egging him on, like, what kind of shark is he? And I think Booker T was trying to say like Megalodon, but he just couldn't say it. So he was like, it's the mega shark. And I was like, excuse me? What did you say, Booker T? So I thought that was entertaining to see him talk about sharks.
Yeah, I'm loving this Wesley open challenge gimmick. I'm a fan of these open challenge gimmicks in general. I think it gets it makes the title feel like a bigger deal, and it kind of guarantees you, if you know the strap is on like an exciting wrestler, it guarantees you a pretty decent match every week. Who do you see his stand and deliver opponent being?
I know, like, every week, like, we make the joke, like, the open challenge one day it's going to be Wentz, right? Like, Zachary Wentz.
Yeah.
What do they call him? I forgot. Nash Carter, right? But it's like, I don't know. Like, that would be pretty cool if that could actually happen, if they make it happen. Other than that, I don't see who else it could be. I mean, you have Dragon Lee's out there, obviously. They can just announce it. Like, Dragon Lee's going to accept it, and that's going to be his debut, a stand and deliver in, you know, WrestleMania week. I think that alone might be a big attraction. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Dragon Lee and Wesley, the battle of the Lees at WrestleMania.
That's what I'm going with as well. I see it being I see it being Dragon Lee. RYN in the room saying Axiom, perhaps. I mean, that would be a hell of a match as well. I just feel we may be leading up to a kind of big surprise, and we know Dragon Lee is in the company, and I would expect you debut him in a big way. I would think like that's a pretty big signing, I think, from NXT. So I would think you'd kind of debut him in a pretty impressive way, and I think a kind of open challenge, Lee versus Lee, kind of makes sense.
I think Axiom's going to be a little bit busy. I was able to catch an Easter egg later on. We'll talk about it during Axiom's match, but I think he has something else in store for himself at Stand and Deliver. But we'll talk about that when we talk about the Axiom match.
Okay, yeah. Michael Whitaker in the YouTube chat is saying he thinks it's going to be Dragon Lee versus Grayson Waller. I think we can get into some sort of Waller predictions a bit later on as we go into that story. We then get a video package from JD McDonough. And
oh my god, I hate eye stuff. Anything to do with eyes, like I couldn't watch this. Like I'm listening to it. At first I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, I realize it's JD McDonough speaking. I cannot watch anything to do with like close up of eyes or any eye surgery. You could describe this, but I can't.
I do like the way they shoot these McDonough promos. It's we've seen him in kind of the like the sensory deprivation chambers. We've seen him having acupuncture. We've seen him standing on rocks, and this one was him kind of in a eye doctor's chair, but the camera being like a bird's eye view above him, so his head's tilted back. And he's talking about his retinal tear, which came from Ilya Dragunov with his return a few weeks ago, and he's describing in a lot of detail about exactly how dangerous a retinal tear is, and that you can be so close to actually losing the eye. And he says, Ilya, you don't know what that feels like, but you will. You are an in-ring warrior, and you have a higher pain tolerance than most, but I will make you suffer, I will break your will, and I will send you home permanently. I think this character's working so well for McDonough. I think he plays it brilliantly with the creepiness. I think the way they shoot these videos are great. And yeah, I think it's really working. And if this is the way we're going, Ilya versus JD at Stand and Deliver, that is a classic takeover level match for me. And I think they're building this feud up really well. He's coming for his eye. He wants to inflict pain. And I think who better than Ilya, who literally his gimmick is this crazy Russian dude who can withstand all this pain and will keep coming back for more. I'm very excited for this one.
I just hope we're not going to get another eye for an eye match that they had with Mysterio and Rollins. As long as they don't do that, yeah. But yeah, this match is gonna be great. Obviously, with these two, you can't go wrong. But yeah, Stand and Deliver. I guess it's not like in my head it feels like it's far away, but I guess it's really not. They're building matches for Mania, so they might as well start building matches for Stand and Deliver at this point. They literally have a roadblock that prevents them from going full force with the Stand and Deliver card. But yeah, I can see that definitely be one of the matches for that show.
We then go backstage to Briggs and Jensen, and Briggs is checking on Brooks, who I don't think we've seen since Valentine's Day, have we?
No, yeah, that was it. The last we saw was when Zach opened up the door and Kiana went in. We haven't seen Kiana since either, have we?
No, Kiana and Fallon made up last week, but
okay.
Brooks was ignoring Fallon's calls.
Gotcha. So yeah,
Brooks still seems a bit sad. And Briggs is like, no, what's wrong? Did you and Kiana break up? And he says, no, we haven't broken up. But, things haven't been the same since Valentine's Day. And Briggs says, you know why that is? It's because you're stupid. And he's like, what? And he's like, no, we're both stupid. We're men. We're all stupid. We're not astrophysicists. We want to zig when they want to zag. And Brooks is like, yeah, man, but I want to zag. It's like, it doesn't matter. He said, look, the Brooks from 6 months ago would be so proud to see where you are now. So don't worry about it. And come on, smile, cheer up, lighten up. So Briggs with the kind of big brother advice here to Brooks.
I enjoyed this. Well, obviously, yeah, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. You go. I've talked enough about these two over the weeks.
No, I was gonna say we'll talk about them more with their next couple of segments, but I've been enjoying these guys. Like I think everything they do is pretty spot on. From like what they started at, like to what they're now. Like it's been such a progression. Like it most improved like at NXT in the last couple of years. It has to be like Jensen and Briggs. I feel like they've just excelled in the ring. Their backstage promos, everything they give them, they really haven't fumbled anything at all.
I agree, and I remember when these two were thrown together for the first time. It felt like that. It felt like they were thrown together. It was like, oh, you've given them the like APA gimmick, and I don't see these two having anything in common. And now I think completely the opposite. I really get that kind of like brother kind of vibe between these two. And I kind of hope they don't split these two up in NXT, because I think this could be a partnership that could go to the main roster, and when you eventually pull that trigger on a breakup, I think it could be quite heartbreaking between these two.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm most impressed with Josh Briggs because, as you know, we used to talk about Evolve. Like his run in Evolve was pretty much him as a Broden character that just didn't like you. That was his character. He just didn't really talk. He had no real personality. Just didn't like you. He wanted to fight, and he had a lot of tattoos of like superheroes. That's all I knew about him. But now it's like he's expressing himself, and he's funny with his comedy and everything. So I have to give it up to him.
I did like on Brooks's Twitter, I think it was this week, where there was the picture of Kiana holding the women's NXT tag team titles, and he's like, I just can't wait to play her Freebird.
Yeah, I did hear that. That was
Freebird for the first time. God bless. This leads us to Briggs and Jensen taking on Indus, and we start with just Indus completely dominating Brooks. There's a big double boots to Jensen. Briggs manages to make the tag, but the ref didn't count it, doesn't spot it, which allows Indus to double team Brooks some more. And then we get a huge choke slam from Sanger, followed by a big lariat from Veer for the win, putting them away. No,
go ahead.
No, I say my feed, this is where it's cutting out in and out a little bit, so I'm not sure if I missed anything here, but a pretty dominant win from Indus.
Yeah, the story of the match was like Jensen's being sluggish. He was like, late to respond to the double team moves. He just didn't, his heart wasn't into it basically. Yeah. And then, Veer Mahan hit, I get what his $1 million arm, is that what he calls it? It's like him swing, winding up the pitch or whatever. Yeah. The one thing on commentary that stood out was when Booker T was, I don't know, randomly talking about things. And he was like, there's only one thing on the menu, no bread, no water, just meat. And that made me pop. I thought that was pretty funny. And Indus Sher comes out to like a remix of Jinder Mahal's theme, which is kind of cool. I'm like, all right, that's kind of a cool little thing here. And there was a backstage segment before this with Hank Walker and Axiom. They had a little pull apart that led to their match later on.
Oh, that was because they kind of got in each other's way for the open
challenge,
right?
Yeah, Axiom said that like Hank Walker kicked him in the head, and Hank was apologizing and this and that. And Axiom says, if you got a problem, we can settle it in the ring or whatever. So, and then he was like, oh, he did have a little dig at Hank. He's like, if you would have went out there, you would have beat Wesley anyway, and that's what got Walker all amped up about this match.
Where are you with Indus at this point? Obviously, this is their second go round in NXT. They had the kind of Malcolm Bivens partnership, which didn't last a whole lot of time. I felt like they kind of debuted and then just vanished. Now we've seen Sanger be on his own for a bit. We've seen Veer being on his own a bit, and now actually being fully a tag team with Jinder on their side. Where are you with them?
Yeah, I'm actually like a little upset because like I liked what they were doing with Sanger. He was doing this whole thing with Valentina that kind of like never was resolved really. He just kind of like dumped them, and then he went back to Veer. Then you had Veer doing his own thing as well on Raw that kind of went nowhere. And I think it was Surin who mentioned, actually shout out to the Poisonrana community chat that we have now. If you're part of the Facebook group, the Poisonrana, there's an actual little chat that people discuss like nights like tonight. And Surin brought up a good point about like, him being brown. He wishes he could see other brown wrestlers do their own thing and not just always be paired together, which is what they're doing now. They put Indus back with Jinder Mahal. So, Surin expressed how like he wished that they would actually like do things on their own. And we had that for a little bit of time with Sanger. We had it with Veer. And now it's like back to, square one. It's like, there's no evolution. Like you already did this. You did Indus a couple years ago. You did it back when the pandemic happened. Like that was it. Indus that you broke them apart and now you put them back together. It's like, did they think that maybe they didn't have anything? Because I think Sanger was great. His like coming out with the suits and speaking all eloquently and like problem solving with Valentina. That was amazing. I love that. And now to see them kind of go back to it, it's like, all right, well, now they literally stripped their character away from them, and they're back to just being henchmen for Jinder Mahal.
Yeah, I think they have improved ring-wise. I think as a kind of monster tag team that we don't, off the top of my head, I don't think we have that monster tag team in WWE anymore. Like we did have like AOP for a while. We've had, you know, combinations of Kane, Big Show, Mark Henry, Undertaker, like all of them. I don't think it's a bad idea having these guys going forward as that, but I can completely see criticisms like Surin's, where it's just, it feels a bit lazy just pairing these two together. But I will say they have stepped it up in the ring. They're not like your sluggish, like dawdling big men. They work with quite a bit of speed, and I do think that chokeslam from Sanger and that clothesline, the $1 Million Arm, does look pretty good.
Yep.
After the match, Jinder gets on the mic and says that this is the best tag team in NXT, and that they will be facing the Creeds at Roadblock, and it will be the same result, except this time it will be 10 times worse. So we're getting that rematch at Roadblock. And although we get a bit of an announcement later on of some additions to that match.
Yep. Yeah, when I first heard this, I'm like, oh, this is Roddy's spot to come back. But that's not, I mean, we can still get that. You know, who knows what could happen. But that's what I thought. My brain went right to Roderick Strong making his return and teaming up for the 6-man.
Yeah. During commercials, we see Mackenzie Mitchell with Nathan Frazier, who's been checked on by the doctor, when Katana Chance runs in and says something's happened to Wendy in the parking lot. So they run out and we see that Wendy Chu has been taken out. So now it's not just a random attack on Nikita Lyons, but we've got a serial killer in NXT, it seems. Is this the same person that took out Kenta all those years ago? Sorry, Hideo Itami?
I don't know about that, but it most certainly could be the same person that took out Nikita Lyons, which they kind of flirt with the idea. When I first heard of Wendy Chu, something happened in the parking lot. This is maybe messed up to say, but my first thought was, did she fall asleep behind the wheel? Like you're in the parking lot. Like that's my first thought, but hopefully she's okay. But yeah, I actually like the idea of like cameras always rolling, like the fact that they actually have footage of like Mackenzie getting ready to talk to Fraser, and you know, he was like back there like getting a neck massage from the trainer and whatnot. Like the fact that they recorded all this is pretty cool, like in storyline, obviously. But yeah, like we have another attacker. We haven't really seen too much of NXT Anonymous. That's something that they kind of like started, unless they're doing it just on social media. I'm not sure, but they haven't really been showing that footage on TV. So you would think that would be something for NXT Anonymous to get like footage of the attacker. Maybe we'll see another breakdown for Mackenzie like we did for Nikita.
I'm starting to wonder if we'll ever find out who an NXT Anonymous is, or whether it is just a device to kind of show you stuff that you're not meant to see that was happening backstage. But I think that is something that NXT are pretty good at, compared to the main roster, is, as you say, like the camera's always rolling. And it makes sense because this is the training center, right? Like, so you would potentially have all of this set up and everything, like your trainers there and all that. We cut to the
cameras are always rolling, but they're never rolling in the parking lot for some reason.
That is
it's
true.
always like
we need
you would think with all these things that happen, get like some 4K high definition zoom cameras in the parking lot so you can see every attack that happens.
The problem is they probably got the wrong connection. They use fucking Apple.
That's
we go to Gigi Dolin, who comes out to the Toxic Attraction music, and she says, "Cut the music." Says, "That's the last time you hear this awful song." And I'm not going to go on talking because, unlike JC, I don't like the sound of my own voice. Said, "I had my head caved in against a door, and I'm not about the superficial things like JC Jane and Toxic Attraction used to be about. That it was fun being a mean girl for a bit, but deep down, I've always just wanted to survive. And I trusted JC. I shared everything with her. But now, after that broke, I've had this rage building up inside of me. And I need to hammer the final nail in the coffin of Toxic Attraction." And she challenges JC Jane to a match at Roadblock. Which might be a bit surprising to some, because I think maybe some people pegged this for a stand and deliver match. We're getting it at Roadblock. That's not to say that we don't get some sort of angle, and there's the rematch. But we're getting this match next week.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to get the rematch because she kept mentioning like last woman standing and even like the coffin line. I'm like, they could easily do either one of those two matches they wanted to at Stand and Deliver, which I think they will do. I like this promo a lot, and a lot of what she's saying from what I've read about her, or as Priscilla Kelly, is true about her like running away from home and the issues that she had, unfortunately, and doing this for her brother. Like I've had a conversation with her back when she was doing Shine Wrestling, and she talked about living out of her car and this and that. So like this, like really, like I think was probably one of her best performances on the mic, actually like talking about her own personal experiences and using that in the storyline. But yeah, I'm a little surprised as well that the match is happening, but I'm expecting like JC Jane to just kind of like, it's a singles match, right? So I'm sure she's going to use a weapon and just get disqualified or a no contest. And then we're going to see the rematch a couple weeks later at Stand and Deliver with a stipulation like last woman standing, maybe even a coffin match. Who knows if she literally said the line, put the last last nail in the coffin. So we could definitely see that as well. Doesn't really fit their characters. But Gigi has like the goth thing, so I guess she can kind of do the whole coffin if she really wanted to.
I don't see it as we're going to a casket match or anything. I just saw it as, Mandy's gone and like the last bit left, sort of the way JC still comes out dressed like Toxic Attraction, whereas Gigi came out with a bit of a new look tonight and that kind of thing. I just saw it as like her meaning I'm going to put it to bed. But who knows? NXT do a lot of gimmick kind of matches, and this kind of feud does lend itself to some sort of no holds barred hardcore match. So maybe you're right. But no, I agree. I think it does make sense. Like you do see that in real life. People with like, hard upbringings who aren't really sure where to fit in do fall into these, mean girls, the jocks, the bullies, that kind of thing happens. And it's, so I think it justifies her babyface turn with her being like, this isn't who I am. So I thought she sounded good. I actually think both Gigi and JC are kind of excelling at the moment since this breakup, because at times I really haven't been high on either of their promos when they were with Toxic Attraction. But I think they're carrying this without Mandy. I think they're doing pretty well. We go to Chase University, where Duke Hudson's talking to Thea Hale, and Thea's just not herself anymore. She's not her usual amped up, bubbly self. And Duke asks how she's doing and apologizes for his behavior last week. Now, if you remember, she kind of cost them the match because she's in fear of the schism, and said that she needs to grow up and that this is a university and not a charity. So he apologizes for that. He says, it was rude and immature of me, and I think you're a very strong woman who can stand on her own. And Thea Hale accepts his apology and says, I'm sure Andre Chase will accept what you said about the university as well. And Duke says, oh, I meant what I said about the university, when Joe Gacy interrupts. So before we move on, interesting that Duke is kind of apologizing to Thea, but still seems to have some like issues with Professor Chase.
Yeah, even like before he spoke to Thea, he was talking to one of the students, and I guess we're talking about what just happened with Gigi and JC, and he was about to tell a story about something with JC Jane and going on to Texas on a plane or something. I had no idea where he was going with this, and then he got cut off. It could be nothing, it could be something, who knows? But yeah, they're definitely keeping that in the back pocket of him like having a little bit of animosity towards Chase, and Chase even acknowledging it, saying, "Is there an issue, Mr. Hudson," or whatever he said. So that's definitely something that they're gonna keep kind of like in our rear view mirror.
So the schism interrupt. They're kind of on a video screen, and Gacy is saying, grass is always greener on the other side, and there is plenty of grass under the schism's tree. And Thea, you can't unlearn.
Isn't that like the lyrics to his song? Like, grass is greener on the other side. It is, right? When he started saying that, I'm like, that's the lyrics to his song.
Love is blind, grass is always greener on the other side. I'll never leave you. Yeah. And says, Thea, you can't unlearn what is ingrained in your brain. And Thea knows. And Duke Hudson, you need to let it out. The only flag you should be waving is a white one. And Chase U is an uncredited school. So move under the schism's tree, because our roots will grow deeper until Chase U goes up in flames. And Duke says Chase won't let anyone talk that way. Chase says he won't let anyone talk that way about his school. And next week, he'll show exactly what Chase U is built on, and he'll deliver a Chase U ass whooping. So is it a singles we're getting next week? Jason.
Yeah, singles match. So this was obviously over the top, but I enjoyed this. Like, it came off like some sort of like Disney Channel movie or something. Like, the fact that you have like this like clean university, and then you have like these like outsiders coming in, just like the idea of him like corrupting some of the students. Like, I want to see all that. I want to see like Chase U in the audience, and then like one of them just like puts a mask on and walks away, and like little by little he's like just stealing just like the nobody, like no name students that are there, just like recruit them to join the schism, and then possibly like down the line get like maybe Thea Hale, who knows, somebody, one of the actual names. But I'm enjoying this whole like Chase U versus like schism. It's like two totally different aspects of like wrestling, or not even wrestling, just like entertainment, I guess. It should hopefully lead to some entertaining segments. But yeah, just a singles match, I guess. Maybe we're gonna down the line a stand and deliver. What would you do a stand and deliver? I guess maybe do like a 6-man.
I don't think this is big enough for stand and deliver. I'd imagine stand and deliver will only have your 5 or 6 matches, and the fact that we're putting some big matches on Roadblock makes me think that we'll kind of keep stand and deliver till maybe a bit of a higher quality. I might be wrong. I can't see this being on that stage. It is absolutely ridiculous. We're talking about a cult calling out a fake university on a wrestling show. Like, it's bizarre, but I do think a lot of them are playing their parts well. That is kind of carrying this and making it a little less absurd than it is on paper, perhaps. We then get confirmation of what the Jailhouse Rules street fight is between Dijak and Tony D'Angelo. It's no DQ, no count out, and you win by incapacitating your opponent and locking them in a cage. So yeah, having the kind of Jailhouse Rules there, where you've got to lock them in prison.
I'm pretty sure we had this match with the Big Boss Man and the Mountie back in the day. So I'm not sure if it's going to be to that level. Yeah, we had a similar Jailhouse type of match. Yeah, Dijak is Dijak. I'm not really enjoying what he's doing, his whole promo here. But yeah, hopefully after this they can, I don't know, move on to something else. They're still like kind of like lingering that whole like Stacks thing, kind of like him sacrificing himself for D'Angelo. There might be some more to that. I'm not sure where they can go with that, but I definitely want to see some more development between Tony and Stacks coming out of this.
Could you see Stacks joining Dijak, or is that too soon to turn on Tony?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I wouldn't do that. I'd maybe like bring in maybe somebody else to join like D'Angelo, and kind of like somebody who maybe like serves D'Angelo a lot better and kind of like moves up the ranks quicker than Stacks. Maybe Stacks gets upset and kind of leaves. There is a like one guy in who actually is going to debut on Level Up called Luca Crucifino, who definitely fits like that mold of like the mobster and whatnot. So I can definitely see him kind of be brought into this
Italian
fold. And
you have an Italian name.
Yeah. Exactly. You're Italian. You have an Italian name. Come join us, and maybe that would be a way to kind of get Stacks a little jealous. Maybe down the line, I can't see it happening right away, but maybe. Well, what's he, if he joins up with Dijak? What's he going to be like? The lieutenant, like Justice or whatever? Like
he'll have
like,
the same role, but a heel, pretty much. Yeah. Lieutenant Justice. Yeah.
There we go.
We go forward to our next match. It's Meiko Satomura versus Zoey Stark with Roxanne Perez on commentary. I thought she sounded pretty good here on commentary. She's kind of putting over her respect of Meiko, saying she respects her because Meiko started wrestling at 16 when women's wrestling really wasn't respected. And Satomura is one of the people that made people start to respect women's wrestling. We get this crazy kick to the head from Satomura. Zoey comes back with a forearm in the corner, followed by the sliding lariat. And then Satomura hits Zoey in the kind of repaired knee. There's a big top rope splash from Meiko for a 2 count. And on commentary, Book is kind of telling Roxanne, look, I've been watching your training videos and your banter back and forth, but don't fall for that. Like, Satomura is a veteran. She knows what she's doing. She's playing with you. Like, be careful. Zoey then goes for the 450 splash, but Meiko moves and Zoey rolls through. But this allows Satomura to hit her with a slam and then follows up with the Scorpion Rising, her step up axe kick to the back of the head, and puts Zoey Stark away.
Yeah, this match was pretty good. I did like how like Meiko was like selling her knee at one point. I'm thinking maybe that could be something that could be like talked about next week, like Roxanne has the upper hand because of a little bit of an injury to Meiko. Rare loss from Zoey Stark. She doesn't really lose often, especially singles matches. So to see her lose here was a little. I mean, obviously she's gonna lose going into this match, but to see her even get in this match was interesting. Roxanne on commentary, she definitely did a commentary before for Ring of Honor, and I feel like something that she definitely is good at. I feel like maybe when she was playing 2K whatever back in the day, she was probably doing commentary at the same time. There was one little slip up at the end that was kind of funny. Like she was like after the match, she's like, "Yeah, and I'm gonna go to WrestleMania," and then Vic was like, "You're going to WrestleMania weekend. You mean WrestleMania weekend." that was kind of funny. But yeah, the match was pretty good. The crowd was definitely booing Zoey. Like she's definitely like is like established heel to the point where like the crowd is like, you know, adamantly booing her. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this match with Roxanne and Meiko, especially considering the last time they fought, Meiko just straight up beat her clean. So this should definitely be a big moment for Roxanne to win here. What do you do after with Meiko? Like, do you still keep her around NXT? Do you bring her to the main roster?
I'd love to see her come up to the main roster. Perhaps like have her as that like programmer right at the top already. Like have Asuka beat Bianca at Mania and have Satomura come out on Raw or something like that. Like that would be
you can even have her.
I don't know how big that would be to your like wider audience, but I think she is certainly someone you could position in that level, I think.
Yeah, I recently listened to Bailey was Ariel Helwani talking about like Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné, and she was like, in my heart, I feel like Mercedes will definitely come back one day. And it's funny how Bailey is like the one that's having matches with Lita and having matches with Trish Stratus, and maybe it would be Bailey versus Meiko Satomura, which would definitely be like Mercedes might be like, oh, you know, I want to fight Meiko too. So it was kind of interesting that she brought up Mercedes on that, and now you could possibly have the Bailey versus Meiko match coming up.
I feel Mercedes is maybe in her Cody phase at the moment, you know? Go away, prove that you're worth something, and come back and reap the benefits. Yeah, I quite like this match. I'm pretty high on Zoey Stark, and quite often we see her kind of facing people a little greener than her, so I thought it was really nice to see her up against a real established talent like Satomura. I thought it was pretty physical between them both. Yeah, obviously Satomura is amazing, but I think Zoey's very good in the ring as well. And I actually think this heel gimmick's been very good for her. She's been cutting way better promos than she did as a babyface. And I think she could be a good challenge for Roxanne down the line. After the match, you get a bit of a stare down between Roxanne and Meiko. We then see a tweet sent by Shawn Michaels in regards to the Grayson Waller call out, calling him out for to come on the Grayson Waller effect next week at Roadblock. And well, Shawn tweeted, "Every day I focus on the development of the young men and women of NXT. I had my time in the spotlight. Now that attention should be directed on these incredible superstars. However, knowing Grayson's behavior will only get worse, and against my better judgment, I accept the invitation to be on the Grayson Waller effect next week at Roadblock and promise to be as professional as I can be." I might just skip ahead to kind of Waller's response here, and then we can kind of talk about this all in one go. But Waller tweeted out like a video of him like at a swimming pool, and he says, "Next week we can properly discuss stand and deliver. But which Shawn am I gonna get? Will I see the Heartbreak Kid one more time, or will we see the corporate stooge in the cowboy hat? They say never, and don't make me put you in a position you said you'd never be in again." So, like, Waller very kind of heavily hinting at, like, an in-ring return is what I got from him, saying, are we going to see, like, the HBK, or are we just going to see this old dude in a hat? Don't let me put you in a position you said you never be. I assume he meant, you know, retirement and like in-ring work. It's very interesting. Where are you with this? I know you were on the show with Braden kind of when they started this angle, but I guess we'll get some answers next week.
Yeah, I mean, if they are gonna do the match, WrestleMania weekend would be it, right? Shawn Michaels versus Waller. That'll definitely get people to actually watch this show, like a full-on real Shawn Michaels match, not whatever he did in Saudi. He's got the hair growing out, right? Does he? Is he bald out? I don't even know. He's always wearing a hat, so
he's got.
You can probably get like potential.
Now. He's not bald anymore. Yeah,
some hair. So at least you'll have that visual of his last match. Him with actually some hair. Is that the match? I honestly, I can't see him like using like a Carl Fredericks or a Dragon Lee to take his place. There, like, what's the connection? There really is no connection. There is no history with Grayson Waller. There's no connection with Shawn Michaels. So the only logical thing would be like, yeah, Shawn Michaels versus Grayson Waller, or maybe even do it like a situation where it's similar to. I mean, I wouldn't have the match at Roadblock, but I'm trying to think of like a situation where they have another face off and then it turns into a match or something along those lines. Or just fuck it, just go for it. Just announce the match, just and deliver Shawn Michaels versus Grayson Waller, and see how many tickets get sold.
It is weird that they're teasing this. I like, as someone who, you know, follows things like Fightful and Dave and stuff like that, I've seen nothing on this at all. I think this is leading to Gargano versus Waller.
Okay.
Gargano hasn't got anything really at Mania. He's an NXT legend. Waller wrote him off of NXT.
Ooh,
Gargano
yeah, I forgot about
has
that.
the
Right.
like Shawn Michaels stuff on his gear all the time. He's one of Shawn's boys. I think next week sets that up, and
yeah,
you can even have him do that "I'm right here" thing, like against Aleister Black. I feel that's maybe more likely, but they are going very heavy with this Shawn Waller thing, where it does make you think, what if are they going this way? But that would be my, if we ain't getting the Shawn Michaels match, my money's on Gargano.
No, that makes perfect sense. It's not like Gargano's doing anything WrestleMania weekend anyway. Unfortunately, it looks like he has nothing planned. Do you think when Shawn Michaels was like tweeting, you think he was yelling at A-Train that they couldn't find the right charger for his phone? Shawn seems like the type that would get very confused with all the different chargers for all these phones he uses.
He was like me at the beginning of the show. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Him and Road Dogg just randomly clicking.
Yeah, like the meme, right?
Yeah. We see Mackenzie Mitchell, who gets interrupted by Tiffany Chu. Mackenzie's trying to do an update on Mackenzie's trying to do an update on Wendy Chu when she gets interrupted by Tiffany Stratton, and Tiffany says that Wendy will be out indefinitely after being attacked in the parking lot, and no one will miss her. And this is when Kaden Carter and Katana Chance come in and say, wait, didn't you just feud with Wendy Chu? Kind of insinuating that it's likely that she put her out. And then Tiff says, well, actually, weren't you both around when they were attacked? So what if you did it? And Tiff says she had a Tiffany epiphany and that she's going to be a detective. And Katana challenges her to a match later tonight. So Tiffany epiphany, is this one coming around to just be Tiffany is the one that's taken out these people?
Maybe not her, but maybe somebody she's like in cahoots with, somebody that she knew about the whole thing. She helped the person, but maybe she wasn't doing the attacks herself. I can see that being a thing. But yeah, she made a good point. She's like, hello, don't go to the parking lot. Like, obviously, have you not been watching NXT for the past 10 years? That's what's been happening. But yeah, I can't see Tiffany being the person to do the attacks, but I'm trying to think of somebody maybe they could bring in, or somebody who hasn't been seen in a while that could be like the attacker, and then she's like revealed as like the mastermind behind the whole thing, or like in cahoots with the person.
Michael in the chat suggesting, could it be Blair Davenport attacking people? It could be a way to bring her back in. We're seeing all the NXT UK lot who had sort of visa issues, them being settled, so I imagine it could be time for Blair Davenport to come back, and I think that's a big enough character and a good way to debut. So I think that's a great shout.
Have we seen Stevie Turner since she started doing her streaming stuff? Has she actually wrestled? I can't remember the top of my head right now. She has.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean that could be somebody else. Yeah, but Blair Davenport's another one. I'm sure there's other NXT UK people that like are still there that they haven't used yet. They can introduce this way.
We see the Creeds backstage, and they're talking, who are they going to get for this 6-man tag against Indus Sher? And they're saying, it's going to take a real son of a bitch to defeat them, and we don't want to do it, but I guess we're going to have to. And they approach Damon Kemp, and they're basically like, look, you're sly and you're a bit of a shit, but it's going to take that to beat Indus Sher. And Damon Kemp just considers it and is like, nah. And just like brushes them off, and they feel completely embarrassed when Bron Breakker appears and says, hey guys, you helped keep my match clean against Jinder last week, so I'll be your third man. And Brutus is all like, oh yeah, so excited about it. But Julius looks pissed. Like, what's up, Julius? Why you look so mad? He's like, hey, you couldn't have come in 1 minute earlier to save me from that embarrassment? And Braun's like, ah, and Brutus is like, wah, and then they all bark like dogs.
Yeah, what up? What do you say? Like, where my dog's at? I think Brutus said.
At.
I like this team, honestly. It makes sense. They all have like that same style, the same ring gear. I want to see them go like full Steiners at for their entrance at yeah. Quick little update because somebody actually sent me to this, but that video that Grayson Waller put up where he's like responded to Shawn Michaels, Dragon Lee actually did respond to him saying you talk too much. So
interesting.
They are throwing that out there.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe that could be something that they still do.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I like the team of these three. I think Braden and I kind of called that last week. I found it very odd of all the people in this locker room to approach. They go to Damon Kemp, who murdered Roderick Strong, it seems, because he still isn't back. I think Roddy's done, personally. There's been zero mention of him. You would have, unless he's coming back in this angle somehow, you would have thought they'd have at least mentioned him. Like, oh, well, we would have Roddy, but he's not here. I don't know. It seems they've gone very quiet on him in recent weeks. So, I don't know. But yeah, it did seem a little, come on. All these people you got in NXT, and you approach the guy you had a blood feud with. Okay. We go to our next match. Sol Ruca taking on Elektra Lopez. Sol goes onto the top rope and Elektra pushes her off and follows up with an elbow. We see Valentina, who's at ringside, still looking, she just looks so conflicted every week. Does she want to be on Elektra's side? She seems to play dirty. Ruca starts to fire back and hits a double underhook suplex, goes for a handspring splash in the corner, but Lopez moves. And then Lopez goes for the brass knucks, which he keeps hidden in the turnbuckle. But we notice that Valentina is now holding them. Elektra's begging for her to give them back. And this distracts her, allowing Sol Ruca to hit the Soul Snatcher for the win.
Yeah, this is a fun little match. Actually, during Sol Ruca's entrance, she had a little bit of a stare down with Zoey Stark as she was leaving. So that could be something that they kind of revisit down the line. But yeah, the match was pretty much just the story of Valentina and her not wanting to fall under Elektra's ways and use the help her use the brass knuckles and cheat or whatever. She's trying to teach her the right thing. She's trying to help Elektra be a better person, basically. It wasn't the best Soul Snatcher that we've seen. I'm not sure if maybe like Elektra fell too early, so that could have been a little bit better. But the match, it was a quick little match here. But the story here is Valentina and Elektra, and where do they go next?
Yeah, so after the match, Elektra is getting in Valentina's face and pie faces her. So Valentina punches her using the brass knucks, knocking her out. So yeah, I like that. We're getting a bit of an edge to Valentina, but still as the babyface, entering a feud with Elektra. It was a pretty quick match. I do think Elektra's shown some improvement in the ring, but I can't say this was a kind of long enough match to really judge completely. They're still giving Sol Ruca these wins, and I think highlighting her pretty well on NXT every week. I do see high things for her in the future.
Yeah, you say the match wasn't too long. It was actually 4 minutes and 58 seconds, because as I was writing notes for this, at the same time, as if I don't have enough things to do, I was multitasking and updating cagematch.net, because that's one of my new jobs that I work at now. So I was like, you know what? We all take turns like updating stuff there, and I was like, I'm watching NXT anyway. Let me just time these matches and update it as we're going. So yeah,
amazing.
That's one of the shorter matches on this card tonight.
What was the longest match tonight?
The longest match was actually the opener. Wesley Nathan Frazier went 13 minutes and 37 seconds. Then you had Meiko and Zoey actually went 11:27, and Carmelo and Tyler went 11:20.
There you go. We then go to the pub. The bar where Gallus are
big. It's called Big Daddies. We actually got a name. We saw
Daddies.
The sign. Yeah, Big Daddies. We have to visit that next time we go to Florida. We got to make sure we go to Big Daddies.
Well, that's not quite a nice callback to one of the kind of famous world of sport British wrestlers, Big Daddy.
Ooh,
so I wonder if there's a tie in there with this being Gallus pub. But you know what? I'm gonna hand this segment over to you, John. So what did Gallus say here?
Thanks for this. The only thing I got out of here was that they were calling Pretty Deadly badly dressed English pricks. They embarrassed them. And then the whole thing is pretty much is Mark Coffey or Joe Coffey?
It's
Mark
okay.
Coffey, right?
I got this.
Thank you.
You.
I hate you so much.
They say we've been Gallus for years, and this is all kind of Wolfgang playing Paul as Mark is kind of like pepping him up here. And so we've been Gallus for years. We've always loved the scram, and we were in the record books in NXT UK for longest reigning champions. Everyone feared us, and we're not going to let some liberty-taking scumbags get to us. They stole the titles from us 2 years ago, and we got to get that win back. We got to visualize what happens when we get our hands on them, because NXT is now our kingdom, and we're not going to let some badly dressed English pricks bother us. And then you see Wolfgang kind of gets fired up. He bumps into a guy behind him, also trying to play Paul on an opposite table. So Wolfgang breaks the pool cue over his knee and then picks up a glass and smashes it on this poor guy. Normally, when you break a pool cue, you then use that pool cue for the weapon. But here he broke it and then grabbed a glass. But yeah. So we're entering a Gallus.
Are you gonna send an invitation to Gallus to attend Gabby's for WrestleMania watch party? You think they'll come through?
We've got no pool tables there, to be honest. But yeah, I don't like this break-in. I hope they paid for this pool cue. I don't like these Gallus lads thinking that they own this place. Like, someone's got to clear that up. Someone's got to replace that.
Yeah.
Come on, lads.
Yeah, where's the manager? Where's the manager here? Who's in charge here?
Yeah. Be like, lads, you can't do that. Get out. You're barred.
Yeah. Yeah, that was you. If you were there, if it was your shift and you saw this happening, you tell them to get the hell out of here.
Yelling at
right?
them, absolutely. Too right.
Yeah.
We then cut to Pretty Deadly, and they're saying, "Oh, we spanked them good and proper," and they were so angry. Imagine how they are when we take all of them, take it off of them, and then they start joking about Wolfgang, get the pool tables, like the Dudley Boys, and then Mackenzie tells them about a tweet that Drew McIntyre put out, that's saying that a receipt is coming to Pretty Deadly's way from the Gallus Boys, and that is when Pretty Deadly quote the In-Betweeners. It's a bit we do at the beginning of every upNXT, where they go, "Ooh, Scottish friends." And they said next week we will have a chinwag. So I think we're going to have a bit of a kind of face-to-face between Gallus and Pretty Deadly. Introducing Drew into this. I know they've obviously all from Scotland. Pretty Deadly, Gallus and Drew did some stuff in ICW. Do you see this as anything more than just a bit of a tweet, or do you see any kind of six-man down the line with Drew?
You could definitely do it. There's let's just say Sheamus and Drew are both fighting over who to fight Gunther at WrestleMania. Then you kind of spin that off to a Drew Sheamus feud after WrestleMania. Then that could be a call up right there for Gallus. I'm not sure where Joe Coffey is, but if you have Mark Coffey and Wolfgang teaming up with Drew to face off against the Brawling Brutes, there you go. You got a six-man tag right there. And I think that would be beneficial for Gallus to have them teaming up with Drew and actually in these six-man matches. But I could definitely see Gallus being a day after Mania call up, especially if they have a grueling match, Drew and Sheamus at Mania, whatever they're going to do with Gunther. They could even do, Imperium versus Drew and the lads, whatever the case is. Yeah, I could see them possibly being on. This is a way to kind of tease it and then eventually do the team up. Okay, these guys are friends from what we saw in NXT. So
if you were to do a just a six-man on NXT TV 1 week with Drew and Gallus against Pretty Deadly, who would you have team with Pretty Deadly there?
I think Tyler Breeze. He's back in the fold in a way or another. I don't know if he's working for WWE. I heard that he's a trainer, and then I heard he's in WWE 2K. I think he's under a Legends deal because he was introduced as a WWE legend in 2K23. So he's definitely working for WWE. Right. I don't know. I feel like he'd be pretty good.
I mean,
pretty good with Pretty
Deadly. I'm trying to think. I can't at the moment think of anyone. Oh, you could have Otis, Maximum Male Models, maybe. Perhaps.
You know who would be good? Who I'm pretty sure is still under contract and he hasn't done anything. Noam Dar.
Where is he? Yeah.
Yeah, you could have him. Him with Pretty Deadly would be a pretty cool team, I feel like.
All right, yeah. Or this could have just been a tweet and nothing else comes from it. Who knows? We go to our next match. It's Tiffany Stratton taking on Katana Chance. They're both showing off their kind of acrobatic skills at the beginning here, leapfrogging each other. Katana does her like nice sort of springboard backwards leapfrog over Tiffany. Tiffany then catches her in a powerbomb position and just launches Katana like face first into the top rope. Got some real height on this. It looked pretty cool. Katana comes back with a double stomp to the back, and that is when the witches come out. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, and this distracts Katana Chance, allowing Tiffany to hit the you can't escape senton, like rolling senton into the best moonsault ever. What you call it? The PME, the prettiest moonsault ever, I think. And didn't quite get all of it, as Vic points out, because she landed on the legs, but it was still enough to pick up the win here.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody did a moonsault on my legs, I'm pretty sure I'd be in pain as well. Katana, like, she might not be my favorite, like, on the mic or just her character, but when she wrestles, she definitely stands out. While she's having this match, I'm like, I want to see her and Ruca have a match where they're both, like, outshining each other. Well, at least, like, crazy gymnastics that they're doing. This is just another showing for Tiffany Stratton. They're definitely trying to build her up, and as we'll hear after this, I think she's going to be the person to get the match at Stand and Deliver against whoever the NXT women's champion is at the time. A funny moment in the beginning, they had, like, fans in the crowd wearing, like, Cricket shirts because their sponsor is, like, Cricket Wireless. So you see, like, a whole crowd of, like, green shirts, like, cheering, and I'm like, do we have, like, a rival school to chase you? Is this, like, another school
that's, like, coming by the chase you people, weren't there? You just had a sea of red and then green.
That was hilarious. But they haven't really. I mean, there was, like, a little bit of tease of who was it that was, like, being teased to well, I can't think of her name right now. The girl that's with in Diamond Mines.
Oh, Ivy Nile.
Oh, no, but the other girl, the one. Yeah, I know they were teasing, like, maybe, like, her joining with the witches. They haven't really said anything about that. It hasn't really been an update, but I'm wondering if they're totally dropped that now, because now they're just, I guess, maybe feuding with Katana and Kaden and for a tag match that they can lead to.
Well, I think, I guess the witches feuded with Ivy and Tatum to kind of get in that number one contenders spot, I would think.
Yeah.
So now they're going after the champs. No, they're not even the champs anymore, are they?
Oh, that's why I'm confused. I guess they're just gonna have this match, and then maybe after the match they'll go after the titles.
Maybe it's setting up some sort of four-way women's tag at Stand and Deliver.
I can see that. Thing. Yeah, there's definitely a bunch of tag teams. Yeah, they can definitely do that.
So after the match, Tiffany gets on the mic and says, "I have proven that I am the very best woman in NXT, and all of you would be satisfied by that, but I am not satisfied. I am not satisfied by being the best because I want to be the NXT Women's Champion. And Roxanne and Meiko, I don't care who wins because that title belongs to me." So calling her shot, it does seem like she will be facing the winner of those two at Stand and Deliver, which I think is cool. I think Tiff's great. It does feel that this was maybe Cora Jade's spot. Cora, I think, is like she's been missing for a while. I think she's dealing with some personal issues at home or something, because they dropped that Lyra Valkyria feud kind of cold, which I kind of saw as a feud to lead to Roxanne's next opponent. But I don't think Tiffany is a bad next challenger. The only thing is I could see this cutting Roxanne's reign short. I could totally see them putting the title on Tiffany.
Yeah, actually, going back to what we were talking about before about maybe Tiffany being in cahoots with somebody. Maybe it's Cora Jade. Maybe Cora Jade's the one in storyline who's been attacking all these people, and she helps Tiffany win the title. And then maybe they're fast-tracking Roxanne to the main roster. Maybe just put her on Raw or SmackDown right after Mania at this point. Like, she's ready, right? They need more baby faces, I feel like, in the women's roster up there. So why not just put Roxanne on SmackDown or Raw? And then, you could do the whole Cora, Tiffany. It's a weird dynamic, but I guess you could possibly make it work. Maybe it's like a one-off, just as, she's been helping me all along type of thing, and now I'm the champion.
So we've got Briggs and Jensen back home? What am I talking about? Backstage. And Briggs says
that is their home. They're there all the time. That's their
much.
Home. Yeah.
Briggs says that Brooks says to Brooks that Kiana and Fallon managed to make up. So why are you still bothered. It's distracting you, and you've got to focus. It's WrestleMania season. And look, you got to go and get your girl back if that's going to get you to focus again. And Brooks says, oh, I just need a do-over. And I don't know what to say. So Briggs says, look, in life, we don't get many do-overs. But how about I go and talk to Kiana for you?
I don't know about this, Davie. I smell trouble. I see both sides of this. I've witnessed the friends that help you and actually help you with the relationship. And I've also seen the friends that unfortunately have, maybe he doesn't have bad intentions, maybe Kiana has bad intentions, but I can see this going sour where Brooks might walk into Briggs and Kiana possibly doing something that he will not like. That's my guess for this.
I see it completely being maybe the like accidental thing where it looks like it's, you know, Kiana's crying and Briggs is consoling her and Brooks walks in on that or something. I would say though, but like, I don't see what the issue is with Brooks and Kiana, really. Like, they were having a good date, and then it was Fallon who messed it up. But that wasn't on Brooks, and that wasn't on Kiana. So why are these two kids
maybe
not
that's
just
maybe
together? Come on.
Well, maybe that's the root of it. Maybe all Brooks does is talk about Fallon, and at the end of the day, he needs to be with Fallon. So maybe this is like a TV like CW drama here. Maybe Briggs ends up with Kiana, and then Brooks ends up with Fallon, and then there's your match right there. That'd be a stand and deliver match, right? A mixed tag match, the two former tag teams
that face off in all of this.
That's old news.
She had a chance.
Yeah, she blew it.
All right. We go to our next match. Axiom taking on Hank Walker. This is coming about from the brawl they had backstage earlier. And Axiom is showing like a lot more aggression now in this match. He seems a little pissed off. Slaps Hank right across the face. So Hank picks him up. I did notice Hank wearing black boots this week. He's ditched Drew Gulak's boots. We get a big boot from Hank and then kicks to the chest from Axiom. Axiom just being super mean to poor Hank here. Hank comes back with his huge shoulder tackle and then the freight train in the corner, followed by a huge lariat. I will say Axiom made Hank Walker look great here, the way he was selling to all his big power moves. Axiom catches him with an inside cradle, followed by a shining wizard, and then he hits the golden ratio, his leaping sidekick to the head for the win. And afterwards, Axiom gives Hank some respect and says, keep fighting like that. You're special.
Okay, so about the match, I thought I liked this match. It was really short, but it was hard hitting. Like just those kicks that Axiom was given to Walker and Walker fighting back. He definitely hung in there with them. Booker T with his funny lines talking about Hank working security guard at Macy's, and Vic is like, "No, you're security guard here. Like, don't you watch the product? You're security guard here at the CWC." But the one thing that I did notice, I don't know if many people did, but as Axiom is celebrating by the entranceway in the background, you see Scripps doing the little Scripps thing. So that's where I think they're gonna. I think we're gonna get a superhero versus supervillain. They actually had a match on Level Up a couple weeks ago that was actually pretty good, and I even like said on Shot in the Dark, I can see this being like a storyline of the superhero versus the supervillain. So I feel like we're gonna be getting a lot of not comedy, but like comic book inspired spots between Scripps and Axiom. You didn't seem too happy about that. You don't want to see the villain versus the superhero?
No, I mean, earlier when you said you've got an idea, I was assuming like with Axiom kind of giving Hank props at the end of this could lead to a Axiom Drew Gulak or Axiom Charlie Dempsey, and both of those sound fantastic. I don't think Axiom versus Scripps kind of does it for me quite as much, but I did really like seeing this aggressive side from Axiom that he displayed here. Like, obviously he's a fantastic wrestler, but seeing him lay in those kicks, more like, you know, when you've got Daniel Bryan and then you've got Bryan Danielson. That's kind of what I felt here. This was a Bryan Danielson version of him where he's just being, you know, very mean. And I thought Walker looked good here. I'm still. I know they're playing him as the everyday guy who's a security guard that just happened to fall into wrestling. That's only going to go so far. Eventually, like, he's going to need to sort his look out and everything because he looks a bit indie-rific at the moment.
Yeah.
And that leads us to our main event, Carmelo Hayes taking on Tyler Bate. We have this nice wristlock sequence at the beginning We've seen these kind of interesting starts to matches with Bate recently. He did the one the other week where I think he just was in an arm bar he just had locked in for like a good few minutes where they were going through other moves, but he still had this hold. They kind of did this here with this wrist lock where Melo tries to get out of it, but Bate just keeps on like rolling with him as whenever he's trying to counter it. Just really quick, innovative stuff here to start with. And then they have a bit of a stalemate. So Bate offers his hand in sign of respect, but Melo slaps it away. They then start trading roll-ups and then are doing roll-throughs of roll-throughs and near falls. And then Bate gets this really tight near fall, which I think everyone bit on here early in the match, but it was like a 2.8 here. After the break, we get a bop and bang from Bate to trick Williams, who is trying to get involved, followed by a diving uppercut from the second rope from Bate, and an exploding suplex leading into his running shooting star press. He goes for the bop and bang on Melo, but Melo scouts it, and then Bate pops Carmelo up into the airplane spin, and then this time, like, kind of delivers essentially the AA out of it, which I thought looked pretty good. Bate goes for a kick, but Hayes catches it, and this allows Bate to trick him this time with the bop and bang. Hits his shoulder bounce off the top rope lariat, and now they're starting to trade punches and uppercuts. Hayes catches Bate with his twisting double underhook driver, and then a crazy knee to the head from Hayes, and then hits his suplex lift into the cutter, kind of like, Dustin Rhodes does the final cut, I believe. And then Bate leaps to the top rope to deliver an avalanche exploder suplex, which looked beautiful. Goes up the top, setting up for the spiral tap, but Trick gets on the apron, and Bate kicks him off, goes to the spiral tap, but the distraction was enough to allow Melo to move, and then follows up with the code breaker, and then Hayes goes up top, hitting the nothing but net for the win. In a very solid main event here between these two.
This match was fantastic. If anybody ever doubts NXT still being 2.0 or full of colors, whatever, this is the match I'm going to point them to. Like, hey, watch this match. Watch what these two guys can do. But yeah, you mentioned that exploder suplex off the top rope. That was fantastic. It just obviously Melo's going to win this match, but Bate definitely gave him his all here. This is a great match. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing these two. Melo's been having nothing but bangers lately, and I'm surprised. I guess there's nothing really for him to do at Roadblock. Like, I wasn't sure like what they could do, with him, but I guess leaving him off the card is okay as long as he's having these matches every week, building up until Stand and Deliver. But I feel like he's going to be the person to take the title off of Breaker.
I don't think you need him on Roadblock. I think Roadblock should maybe be a thing for some of these people that aren't going to make the Stand and Deliver card to be on. Yeah. I liked it. I thought it was a relatively clean win for Hayes. You did have a bit of distraction from Williams, but it wasn't overbearing. So it was enough to kind of protect Bate somewhat, but also just give a pretty definitive win to Carmelo Hayes here, making him look more and more convincing going into this match against Braun. Obviously it's these two guys. The match wasn't going to disappoint, and it really didn't. It's one I definitely like to see be revisited down the line, probably with Carmelo as champion and going forward to it, something a bit more substantial between these two. But I think Stand and Deliver is gonna be really I think it's gonna be their best best big event, their best PLE, if you will, since the rebranding a couple of years ago. I think you've got some really solid looking matches going forward. And I thought this was a NXT coming back to form. I was down on last week, so I thought it was pretty weak. But, we had a really hot opener with Wesley and Nathan Fraser, and a really hot closer with Bate and Melo. And the stuff in between wasn't bad either. So I was pretty high on this week's show.
No, for sure. I feel the same way. Definitely a good show. There wasn't really anything too bad. Like, you can say like the Schism, Chase U stuff is goofy, but I like it. I thought it was entertaining. You got to have a good mixture of entertainment as well as the good wrestling, as well as the good storytelling, and this show has pretty much everything. One thought that popped in my head, a match that we haven't seen that I would love for this to be possibly Melo's first program if he does win the title. But Carmelo versus Dragunov, that would be a pretty sick match that hasn't happened yet. So that's a match that I think they could definitely build to after he wins the title for sure.
We did Trick versus Dragunov recently, didn't we?
Yes, we had Trick. Yeah,
So
exactly. But we never got the Melo match.
Feud,
yeah,
but we haven't had the Melo match. Yeah, that would be great. Absolutely, absolutely. Any other thoughts on tonight's show, John?
Really good build to Roadblock. I feel like they're definitely like usually like they're like special weekly events. Like some of them feel big, some of them don't. This one definitely feels like a pretty big event. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm just really intrigued with this whole like Shawn Michaels, Grayson Waller effect thing, like what it's going to lead to. But obviously we're going to find out. And then I wonder what else developments we'll get out of Roadblock that'll lead to Stand and Deliver.
Yeah, I'd imagine after like next week, we've probably got a pretty clear idea what Stand and Deliver's going to be. But yeah, I was high on this week. Well, that's what we thought. Let's see what you guys thought. If you haven't already, join the Poisonrana Facebook group. Why haven't you? We put up our feedback thread every Tuesday for NXT, but also chat about wrestling throughout the week and post silly memes and stuff. And who doesn't like a silly meme? And we've also got, as you mentioned earlier, John, there's now this new kind of community group chat thing, which is pretty fun for when you're watching Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, and that kind of thing, or just keeping up the news, chatting with other people in this community. So I highly advise you all join the Poisonrana group if you haven't already.
For sure. I know a lot of people miss the, I don't know, I was going to say miss the lockdown, but one of the best parts of the lockdown was when we used to do like the watch-alongs and we discuss shows as they're happening in real time. This is probably the closest thing you can get to it. Like as the shows are going on, it'll be any show from Dynamite to Raw to SmackDown to NXT, live discussion as it's happening. So definitely check in. It's all people that we know. It's all people that we trust, obviously, in the small little community that we have. So definitely, give it a go.
So we're kicking off feedback this week with Sean, who says, this was the best episode of NXT I can remember in a really long time. 3 banger matches at the beginning, middle, and end of the show, with a fire promo from Gigi Dolin to boot. I like how he says to boot there with Gigi. Plus, we got a lot of great segments and video packages to set up Roadblock next week and beyond. If you want to show someone what NXT these days is all about and what's in store for the future of WWE, show them this episode. Wow, very high praise from Sean there.
Yep. I'll read the next one. I like reading Fire Frank's feedback here. So Fire Frank says, who wins in a fight, Thea Hale or Cocaine Bear? That's a tough one. I might have to go with Thea Hale on this one. I feel like she has a little bit more scrappiness to her.
It depends if Ava Raine is with the Cocaine Bear, doesn't it?
So you think the Cocaine Bear can join the schism?
And join the schism.
Put on the mask and everything.
Yeah.
Good to see Fraser back, and he had a strong match with Wes to kick us off, and maybe the highlight of the show, as well as the Mello Bates main event being really good as well. Gigi had a pretty strong promo as well. Roadblock is looking good, and excited to see what the big matches at Stand and Deliver will be aside from Mello versus Braun and HBK or Surrogate versus Waller.
And then we go to Magan, who says, a far better episode, bookended by 2 very good matches. It's great to see Nathan Fraser as he and Wesley bodied the opener. Tyler Bate and Carmelo Hayes also shut it down in the main event. I was expecting Gigi Dolin to cut a good promo, but she hit a home run. She was genuine and vulnerable about her troubled upbringing. I don't think this JC feud ends at Roadblock. I bet it'll extend to Stand and Deliver. Satomura Stark was solid and Roadblock got built up nicely. I bet HBK on the Waller effect will set the stage for Dragon Lee's debut. And then he's attached the tweet you mentioned earlier with Dragon Lee replying, "You talk too much." Well, there you go.
I'm not sure if that's gonna get Dragon Lee a spot on Botchamania by tweeting "talk too much," but you never know. Maybe
you never know. Well, yes, that's it. That's all. That was NXT this week. We've got a whole load of other shows coming out this week. With our Black Mirror review of episodes 1 and 2, and Was Next, the 18th of December 2013 edition of NXT. Plus, you got everything in our back catalog to enjoy at patreon.com/Poisonrana. Go check out our watch party. Go to Poisonrana.ca if you're interested to see what that's all about. And Siino, what have you got up? What have you got coming up on Shot in the Dark this week?
Yeah, this week I actually talk about a really good main event on Impact between Trey Miguel and Crazy Steve. They had a Monsters Ball match for the X Division title that was really good. It's probably better than a lot of the matches that were on the No Surrender pay-per-view the day after. I'll be talking about that. I'll also be talking about this really weird couples therapy segment on NWA Power between May Valentine and Aaron Stevens. Yeah, just me describing it is going to probably confuse you as much as it was me watching it. And then a couple other things. The next couple weeks, Ring of Honor starts up this Thursday, actually, so I'll be adding that to my lineup as well. So yeah, a lot of cool things happening in the future. Never a dull week in Shot in the Dark. There's always going to be something to talk about on one of these shows.
Well, there you have it. We will not be doing Poison Rana this Sunday, as it is Revolution. So we will be doing a live episode of Poison Rana next Wednesday at 6 p.m. on youtube.com/@PoisonRanaPod. We'll be giving all our thoughts of AEW Revolution. So give that YouTube a follow. And, well, you can keep up to date when all our shows are by following the Twitter, twitter.com/PoisonRanaPod. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Davie Portman. And fuck it, follow us on TikTok as well at PoisonRanaPod. So there you have it. If you don't already, he's not here today, but give at the Brady a follow. You know he'll appreciate it. And John, finally, where can we find?
You can find me at Siino Evil, CNOEVIL, on Instagram, on Twitter. I think I have TikTok. I don't use it. Unfortunately, it's a little bit complicated for me to understand. But yeah, if you find me on there, follow me on there. Why not?
There you go. Well, that's it. Thanks, everyone, for sticking with us tonight. We'll be back very, very soon. Thank you for listening. Take care. Be safe. Ahoy!
Poisonrana.